Hello and welcome to episode 61 of Beyond the Finish Line, the podcast for runners of every pace, every distance, and every goal. You are chatting with Georgia and Coach Matt, and on today's episode, we are talking all about mindset, failures, and how to feel like you can get back into your runs after you've had a bit of a shitty one. But first, how are you going, Coach Matt?
Mate, I feel like this episode is tailored for me right now. I am coming off arguably my worst race of my life. That includes a DNF in an Ironman. So it's been a rough couple of days, but we're all good. How about you, G?
We are like polar opposites today. I'm on an absolute high, which is okay. I'm going to try and like tone it down slightly because to not match your mood, but you know, I don't want to be over the top while you're feeling a bit shit. So
I'm all right now. All right now. It's just rough weekend.
Rough weekend, which we'll get into really soon. But yes, I am very good. Thank you for asking. Really good week. We may as well jump straight into our highs and lows. I'm going to do mine first, and then let's get to yours because I feel like yours is going to be.
I feel like mine's just going to tail into the episode, so
Yes.
We'll do yours, and then we'll just listen to me, my commiserations.
And look, I'm going to introduce my own highs and lows. This week, I had a great run on Sunday, guys. I did 8Ks, which is awesome. Super, super happy with that one. Although I have also now found my limit, and my limit is 5Ks. So that is fine. I'm paying for it today. I'm very, very sore today. And that's okay. We learnt the limit, and now I'm not going to cross it. But had a great weekend. I've had a great week. I'm feeling good, helping a girlfriend out with like picking her wedding dress and stuff like that. So super, super fun. Life's really good. I've just brought on a couple of extra sponsors for my own personal stuff, which means, you know, we're getting a few baby things gifted to us, which is super helpful, especially in this economy with the current cost of living. I feel like we decided to have a baby when the interest rates were so low, and then it's like double interest rate hike, fuel prices, cost of living, like such
It cost
shit.
me over $300 to fill up with diesel the other day. It was fun.
Oh, that's disgusting. I don't envy you at all. I feel like it lasts a bit longer than petrol does, but
It does for sure.
Yeah,
it still sucks.
I locked in some on the 7-Eleven app. If you guys aren't on that, seriously.
Lifesaver.
I locked in, sounds ridiculous. I locked in $2.50 here in Sydney, and everything's like $2.60 now. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I've got to fill up tomorrow before the long weekend because driving home to Wagga, that is going to cost me an arm and a leg, 550 Ks each way. So,
is that far to Wagga?
Yeah, it is.
There you go.
550, 450. Oh, I could have made that up. It's 4.5 hours, whatever that equals.
It's probably 450. Yeah.
I think it's 450. Anyway, that's fine. It's a long way. So
it's still 1,000 K round trip. Like it's still a decent whack.
Yeah, it's definitely
That's Sydney to Melbourne.
Yeah, it's 2.5 tanks of fuel pretty much. Like we'll get there on it, and then we'll need to fill up, and then we'll need to fill up again to come home. So yeah. Pain in the butt, but anyway, that's fine. That's it. Lows, no real lows other than I'm so proud I did my 8K, but I've now worked out, as I said, that 8K is too far for my hips. And so the pain after that yesterday was pretty excruciating. So not going to do that again. 5K seems to be the healthy, safe limit for my body right now. So that's okay.
I have a curious question. If you guys haven't been playing along, Georgia teaches me something new about pregnancy every week. As your body changes, like the female's hips change shape, right? They start to open up. Has that helped with your bursitis at all?
Oh, so interesting. If you guys are new here, I had a year of pretty chronic bursitis in my left hip. I actually think it has, but I think that's more because I'm running less. I don't know if that's to do with because bursitis is the inflammation on the side of your hip, like in the joint. There's a bursa that protects the joint, and so that gets really inflamed, and pretty much nothing helped it other than direct dry needling and time off. And because I had like a solid 6 weeks off, that pretty much healed it. I think it is definitely not bursitis anymore. It's just the hips moving apart, which is just crazy because as your body grows to, accommodate all of the stuff for a pregnancy, your hips do move apart and your pelvis and all of that stuff. So it's pretty wild to me that it's just like, oh yeah, you just function day to day with really sore hips and
you literally got growing pains.
Yeah, growing pains. And like you just feel bruised in that whole general area. It kind of feels like you've been kicked really hard, which is so graphic. But that's the only way I can describe it. It's just like, it hurts. So yes, I like that you bring me little pregnancy things every week. So fun.
I'm just a curious guy. I'll just ask questions. That's how I learn stuff.
That's great. Yeah, you got to ask questions. Otherwise, how do you learn? Like, even I didn't know that before. I just spoke to my physio about it last week. So, good timing. But
I wonder if it's going to change your running gait too post-pregnancy.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because when I run now, obviously I run quite far forward because of the weight in my stomach. And so I think it's definitely changed my gait now. It's probably a bit better, to be honest. But I was saying to the physio on Friday, I was like, my feet are killing me. And he's like, yeah, man, you've got like an extra 10 to 15 kilos on you right now. Of course your feet are hurting. And I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. It's like wearing a weight vest.
Yeah. And also like from a physiological perspective, you have not done, like weight gain normally happens quite slow. So you have not done adequate strength or ate adequate calories to accommodate for said weight gain. Like if you put on weight through fat, it would be more evenly distributed, same with muscle, but you have just put it on in one specific area in a very, very rapid amount of time. So like, yes, you should feel sore carrying that.
Yeah, it's crazy because like at the start I blew out a bit just with like fluid and stuff around my face, and like my hips and stuff have definitely gotten bigger. But a lot of it, like our baby's currently only, I don't know, 500 grams or something, but a lot of it is just fluid and like your placenta and all of these things. And by the end of it, the baby's only like 2.5 kilos, but the rest of it is like the 10, 15 kilos on top of that. I think it's about 12 kilos you put on extra. So, it's pretty fascinating. But, I did a video the other day where I was like, if you've ever wondered what it feels like, it's like wearing and running. It's like wearing a 10-kilo weight vest. You're running with a cold because I can't breathe through my nose. You're running with like cramps and your hips hurt and you're just like out of breath. And I was like, it's really not selling it.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, how has your week been, Matt? Tell us the highs and then talk to us all about this weekend and what happened.
Let's go highs. I don't know if we mentioned we hired an operations manager. I can't remember if we brought that up, but
yes,
at TPP.
We did, but that's okay.
We did.
Meg,
shout out Meg. Yeah, if you haven't had a shout out yet, there you go, Meg. So that's been cool. Do you know what my high was? It was actually at the race this weekend. Yep. I had three individual people come up and mention the podcast. 2 people mid-race.
Really?
Yeah, one lady came up to me. I was so deep in the hurt locker at this point, and she even said, "I'm sorry, this is not the right time to say this, but I probably won't see you again. I love the podcast." She was wearing orange Hoka shoes and either a blue top or a blue 2x U top, something blue. That was awesome. Like you got me through like probably 3 or 4 Ks of having a bit of a high. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I apologize I didn't get your name. And if you did tell me your name, I was so deep in the hurt locker, I wouldn't remember it. I apologize.
Please tell us who you were so we can say thanks.
But yeah, so 3 people mentioned the pod in like a little, like we're out in Lithgow. Like it was a very, very small, like local event. So that was cool.
What, so 3 people mentioned the pod, which is, I mean, what was the race called again? Sorry?
Ridgy Didge.
Ridgy Didge. That's so Australian.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. That is a good high. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then talk to us about the marathon you did. This is a trail marathon that you signed up to like a week before.
Yeah, signed up to it on the Monday and it was on the Saturday.
And he wonders why he had a shit race, guys.
Well, to be fair, I am training for a 100K ultra, so a marathon should be doable.
Are your long runs up to a marathon yet for the 100?
No, that was the longest run I've done.
Okay, yeah.
I'd been like low 30s. I'd done 1 week of low 30s, had an absolutely horrific week of training.
Yeah.
Signed up for the marathon on the Monday and then did that. So I'd only had 1 30+ kilometer run leading into it.
Okay, well that's not too bad, I guess.
Look, it's not good, but like I also kind of knew what I I knew I had awesome training, and I was like, this is kind of like going to kick my ass into gear, and it did, but it also like broke me. It was fucked.
Oh, talk us through what happened. Why did it break you? What did it feel like?
So for context, it's 42.8 kilometers. So I fucking hate when marathons are like a little bit longer. There's this weird fucking joke in trail running, and I don't find it funny at all. Where they'll be like, yeah, it's a 22K race or it's a 50K race or whatever, but it's like 58Ks. And they're just like, they just don't tell you. They just advertise it at 55. Everyone says it's 55, but it's like 58. It's like, if you say it's a marathon, it's 42.2. I'm not taking a step fucking further. But for some reason in trail running, it's just this weird joke that everyone finds hilarious.
Do you think they do it on purpose, or is it just because they can't map the course properly?
It's a combination of both for sure.
Right.
But like Cosy 100, it was 108 kilometers. That last 8 kilometers, eat a dick. Like, don't want to fucking borrow it.
8Ks is a really long way to not be accurate.
It's 8% out.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Anyway, so I was filthy about that. And there was nearly 2,000 meters of climbing. So for context, that's nearly 7 times more than the Sydney Marathon. And it was the most technical ascent and descent I've done. I think it was probably a harder race than the Cosy 100.
Oh my God.
Just because of the technicality, and you like I said, I'm not a great trail runner. I am okay, but like there was a lot of stuff there that was just unrunnable, and it was just hiking. It took me 6 hours 45 minutes to do a marathon.
Okay.
Like, for context.
Yeah.
I'm also dealing with a couple of injuries that have been like a little bit niggly, that got quite bad during that. So I pretty much walked the last 6Ks, which again isn't unusual in trail running, but that definitely blew out the time a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when you say like it's super technical, is that just because it's not like a path and you've got to kind of know how to navigate the terrain, or what does that mean?
Correct. Yeah. So like a super like a goat trail, or like an old roo trail or something.
Yeah.
There'll be loose dirt, rocks, tree roots. Some of it might just be like a rock face that you've got to like slide down. Some of it is like almost legitimate rock climbing where you're like hands and knees like crawling up walls and stuff. Yeah.
What do you...
So like, yeah, that's part of like the event. So
okay.
It's, if you haven't, not all trail runs are like that. Some are just like a dirt road and you're just running down it, and it's like trail running. I'm doing air quotes for people who are just listening. But this is almost like bush bashing trail running.
Okay. And is this course known for that, or was that not something you knew going into it?
So this will be interesting for fucking everyone, just to show you the mood I was in going into this.
And the mood you're still in.
The mood I'm still in, still fucking filthy. So I knew nothing about the event. Sam picked it out quite a way away, wanting to do the 22 or 20, can't remember what it is. And I was like, beautiful, I'll go down, spectate. I'll be like in the middle of UTA training. I'll just go do my own trail run. I'll have a training run in the Blue Mountains. It'd be great. Knew nothing about the event, didn't do any research. Brenton, Sam's brother, messaged me and goes, you want to do the marathon? I was like, fuck it. All right, I'll do it with you. So Bren and I are pretty similar fitness, skill levels, everything. Like, we're very, very similar. And I was like, oh, if you're doing it, I'll do it. Why not? I'd signed up on the Monday. On the Tuesday, I went to my trail running squad. So like the guy who's coaching me. And I'm probably the worst trail runner in that group, like by a pretty considerable margin. And quite a few of those boys were doing different distances at the event. I just mentioned, I'm going to do the marathon. And all of them just stopped and went, why? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, that's the worst distance. That's worse than the 50. It's worse than the 30, worse than the 20. I was like, how much worse? And they're like, consider it. Like, it's horrific. It's the worst run you can possibly do. We won't do it. And I was like, oh, and you guys are way fitter, faster, more technical runners than me.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's horrific. You're in for a world of hurt. So I just had that sitting in my head for 5 days leading into it. Sick.
Is it a different course? Is that why they're like, we don't want to do the marathon? It's not like you do the 50 but the marathon just branches off and then you finish early?
The marathon does a couple of different, like really, really steep climbs. That's different to the other ones. And you run through like a few different saddles on the hills. It's just a little bit different, but like the difference is a lot. Like you do the main climb twice versus everything else you sort of loop around it.
Yuck. Well, you're a silly goose.
That is what it is, mate.
As soon as I saw Sam had put up a video of you, or you put it up and Sam shared it, and it was like you coming, I could see your face, and I was like, oh no.
This proves that I know nothing about Instagram. That's got like 20,000 views. We'll work it out.
Yeah, because you're showing like vulnerability. Don't bring up the cheese. But showing a real vulnerable side of yourself. So
I don't even say anything. I just go, nah. Sam goes, you're right. I'm like, nah. And then just walk off.
Social media people love that. They love like vulnerability and belly buttons and cheese, apparently. I had so many people message me this week being like, I was listening to the podcast of you talking about this and then saw the actual thing of it on Channel 7 and I was like, oh. And like I had probably 3 people say to me before it actually happened, being like, this is going to be on the morning show. And I was like, don't you dare say that. Like, no. And then it did. So anyway, fun times. Not my high for the week, that's for sure. But talking about just you and I were talking today about how, you had a bit of a rough weekend and we had an athlete post a question in our circle community, and it's a board where people can post questions. They can, talk about how they're feeling, or they can share some highs or lows or wins or whatever they want to do. And one of our athletes, he mentioned that he wanted some advice on how to deal with a failed run or a run where they feel like they didn't quite do their best. Like, what can you do to kind of get out of a bit of a funk? And so, running is such a mental sport. And I kind of just wanted today to talk about mindset. How do we treat running so that, if we have one bad run, it doesn't define us. It doesn't change who we are as a runner. It doesn't make us a terrible runner. I just kind of want to know, how can we handle training when things don't go to plan? And so off the back of a big weekend, I thought this is a really good space to speak about this.
It's a very serendipitous topic.
And when I messaged you about it, you were like, actually, I have some things to say. So it's always good. Where do you want to start with this, Matt? Do you think, being a coach, I'm sure you see this all the time with your athletes. Yeah. What's kind of the most common things you see with your athletes? And I know I've been in this position. I know I've definitely messaged you a lot about this in the past. What's kind of the most common thing you hear from people?
Most people overanalyze it.
Yeah.
And they get caught up in the reason why. And sometimes there is no reason why, which is a really unique thing about running. Like, sometimes you just get out of bed, you've had a great night's sleep, you've had perfect breakfast, you've caffeinated, you put your shoes on, and it just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those runs. And then for other reasons, you have a 2 hours sleep, you have 4 double espressos, you put your shoes on, and you're like, I could run a marathon today, and it's effortless, right?
Yeah.
And we've all had those runs, but both sides of it. So most people try and justify it, whereas I don't think it is something that needs to be justified. Like, if I look at my Training Peaks comments from people's, like the feedback they leave on things about, it was too hot, it was too cold, didn't get enough sleep, didn't have breakfast. Like, there's always a reason why. Whereas I just don't think it's that cut and dry. I think there is a lot where it's just, there is no reason, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think more often than not, people come up for a reason in their head while running, and then they talk themselves into it. Yeah. And by the end of it, they've justified it to themselves, and that is the thing.
Yeah, it's so true because I have been there before. There's a lot of your athletes at the moment that I follow on socials, and they all have a big marathon coming up, and so they've
Yep.
just done your very famous session called the Big Daddy.
The Big
And
Daddy, yeah.
this session, guys, you would have heard us talk about it before. It is a 36-kilometer long run that's made up of 3 by 10 Ks at marathon pace with a
It's
slight
filthy.
yeah, with a small float in between. And the float is kind of your little bit of a breather where you're running just slightly slower. And so this session is hectic. It is really, really hard. And I was talking to one of Matt's athletes today, who's a friend of mine as well. And she was mentioning about how she never wants to have to do that run ever again. And I was like, babe, I feel you. I've done 3 of them. Like that,
Mhm.
3 of those Big Daddy sessions I have tackled.
Was that
So,
Ash?
yeah.
Yeah, Ash messaged me and I was like, it sucks, but it works.
It sucks, but it works. And that's how I fully agree that is how I got my sub 4. Like I was very prepared. And, even with her, she said like it was a really tough session. And I'm sure there was moments within that session where she found herself doubting her ability and doubting how am I going to do this pace over 42 kilometers. And, no matter what your pace is, everyone questions that ability. And I think a lot of runners treat one bad run like it's a reflection on them as a whole and their fitness. And I guess what is a way that people, when they're on that run, where it is that defining moment where they go, this is it, I'm a terrible runner, and they start to question themselves. Is there a way that you recommend that people can like pull themselves out of it? Or do you think they just need to ride the wave?
It's a combination of a few different things. Like one of my famous sayings for my athletes is one hot day doesn't make a summer. So if you have one,
but did you die?
oh, but did you die? Yeah. That's if someone's really complaining. I'm like, I don't care. Like, did you die? No, shut up and get your shoes on.
So one hot day doesn't make a summer. I love that. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So one hot day doesn't make a summer. More often than not, athletes really struggle to use another analogy, see the forest through the trees, right? Like you are so in, it's your job as an athlete to be present in the session doing the thing. And it is so difficult to see outside of that.
Yeah.
So if you have one bad session, it's so hard to think back to the previous Saturday where you absolutely crushed it. Like that is so far. That's 4 or 5 sessions ago. Like you can't remember that. And they just get so caught up in that in the moment thing. So one thing I really encourage athletes to do, especially if they maybe strung 2 or 3, not bad sessions, but just like where they're doubting themselves or questioning things. I'll go to Training Peaks and I'll just show them like green, 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 green. So green is like a completed session. And I'm like, hey, look, all of this is confidence. Like brick in the wall, brick in the wall, brick in the wall, brick in the wall. Like, and I can scroll back for months with some athletes and be like, all of this is how you pull yourself out of it. Like this is proof that you can do what you say you can do. That's like my big ones. I look at historical data, and one of the things that I think makes me a good coach is I'm very logical, and I'll just be like, look, 1 red, 17 green. Like then it's just math, right? So just because you didn't hit the nut paces on this, or you didn't get the distance, or you pulled out halfway through, like that's okay. We got all of this stuff backing us up. So I am a big fan of looking at historical training data to overcome a one bad session.
Yeah, and you need to fully remove the emotion out of it and look at the data like you just said, like
And that
break
can
it
take
down.
time. Like I'm probably only now, and I am 48 hours removed from my race. And I know like the emotions, I know what to remove. And I'm not a particularly emotional person. But I know all of that stuff, and I'm still 48 hours removed before I can look at it logically. So
Yeah.
someone who maybe like Georgia, who is definitely more emotional than me, she might need 72, 96. She might need a full week before she can go back and be like, okay, like what actually went wrong? And I know when I was coaching Georgia, obviously she's coached by Anthony, one of our other coaches at the moment. Sometimes I wouldn't give her feedback for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
I just had to sit there and wait, because even if I gave it to her, she wasn't in the state to process it. So it's very important to know like who you are as a person and how you process information as well.
Yeah, I definitely take longer, like you said, to process runs that are bad. And I need a little bit of mix of like, I just need to sit with it for a minute. And yes, it is just a run and it feels like it's bigger than it should be, but it does emotionally take a toll on you. And
Mhm.
especially when you're in a big training block, you
Yeah, because you're
really
working so hard to something.
so hard and it really pulls you into it. You're like, oh, that was terrible. I'm terrible. And you really spiral into that negative self talk. And yeah, you're so right. I definitely would take a bit to kind of be able to see, as you said, the forest from the trees. And I'd have to really sit back and think, okay, it's not, it's one bad session, not a bad training block.
Mm,
And the thing that's always got me through my training, and it has for the past 3 years and all of my marathons, is this thing called the rule of thirds. And so the
mhm,
rule of thirds isn't a new concept, but it was popularized by an Olympian called Alexi Pappas. And
mhm,
I'm just reading this because I don't want to get anything wrong. And so it's a mental framework for training that suggests when you're pursuing a big goal, a runner should expect your training sessions to feel roughly and fall into one of three categories. And so anytime during my training where I felt like I had a bad session, I always reminded myself of the rule of thirds, or my friends would remind me of the rule of thirds. And so the three categories are you have 1/3 of your runs will feel amazing and you'll feel on top of the world, like you've absolutely smashed that run. 1/3 will feel okay. They'll kind of be like, it wasn't good, wasn't bad. It was a run. I got it done. Go me. And then 1/3 of your sessions will feel shit.
mhm,
And if you prepare for that and you know that it's okay that some of them are going to feel really, really average and really crappy, I feel like you can get through any training block because you're more mentally prepared for it and you're not getting such a shock when the crappy run comes. And that comes down to just being tired, you're stressed, you're probably not eating as normally as you would, and things like that. And so I've always loved the rule of thirds. That's really helped me. And that's something that I use when I'm out on my runs and I'm having a kind of a bad session.
mhm.
As you said, Matt, you like to analyze things and that's how your brain works. My brain works like, I need to remove the emotion. Here's the kind of stats. Everyone else feels this. So this is kind of what makes me feel and feel good and what works for me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the rule of thirds is great for that beginner to intermediate phase because I
Yeah.
feel like if you maybe haven't gone through a marathon block or maybe you haven't gone with a coach and maybe a coach has pushed you a little bit harder than what you used to, you're not
Yeah.
used to having sessions go bad. Like
Yeah.
if chances are when you finished your first one, you only ran when you felt good. And if it didn't go good, you're like, that's okay. Like I'll just pull the pin and you don't even really remember it. When there's other people or there is expectations that you're putting on yourself, the stakes rise and that internal pressure comes a lot more. Therefore, the ups are way higher, but the downs are a lot lower as well because you feel
Yeah.
like you're letting other people down. Um, so I think the rule of thirds is fantastic for, like I said, that beginner to intermediate, just to be like, even before they start a block, to know like, okay, I'm going to run 4 times a week, 16 weeks. What's that? That's 64 runs. That means 21, 22 of them are going to be shit house. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Like I can chalk in that essentially 3 weeks of training is going to suck. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it might just be one session a week. It could be a whole week of training. It could be any of those sorts of
It
things.
could
I
be
think,
2.5 weeks for some
yeah.
people.
I just, if you're someone like me who's like super emotional, I always found that that was a very good way to pull myself
Mhm.
out of the state where I'm just like, but the session was really bad and I'm going to fail my training. And, oh God, now tomorrow's session's going to be bad. It really helped me to just go, it's one run. Let's put it behind me and let's move on. And that's all like almost identical to how you always say, like, it's just another brick in the wall. Let's move on from it. You've done the run now. I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on. And that's always so helpful.
Yeah, that's one analogy. I haven't used it as much, but I still chuck it in every once in a while. Is when you do a marathon block, you're trying to build this wall of bricks, right? And every run is a brick.
Yeah.
When you lay the brick, you might look at that brick and go, "Fuck me, that is a horrific brick. Like that is shit. Didn't hit my paces. Like
Bit wonky.
bit wonky. Like whatever." The thing when the wall's done, you can't pick out the shit brick. It just looks like a fully finished wall, and you're like, perfect. Like it's a well built wall. So that's another analogy I use. Like in 3 weeks' time, you're not going to remember this session. Like
Yeah.
it's done. You're only going
Yeah.
to remember the sessions that were strong. And the only exception to that rule is if you do a session that is horrendous, you're off your paces, everything feels hard, but you still push through and get it done, even if it's nowhere near what it was meant to be and you get it done. That is like a little bit of ammo in the back of your head that when shit gets hard at the back end of a race, you're like, I got through that, I can get through this. So there is a silver lining to that hard session as well.
Yeah, and I know you say you can't pick out the bricks that are shit, right? But I always kind of look at it like, I feel like, say the training block is made up of, like, as you said, 63 or whatever metaphorical bricks.
Mhm.
And even if 20 bricks are a little bit wonky and a little bit funny and they're slightly off center and they're the ones that have been a little bit shit, I feel like you look at the wall as a whole and you go, that's a pretty fucking good wall. And that
Mhm.
wall got character. It's a bit fun. Like, it's not perfect, but I got through it. And you can
Mhm.
kind of look back at those shitty runs and be like, wow, like I still got through it. And I think that applies to so many things kind of in your life. It's like some of the hardest things you've ever done, you've gotten through them and
Mm.
you're here today and you got through that. And it's the same with training. It's like you will have some of the hardest runs ever, but you will get through them. And if you don't, you just move on and it's not a big deal. And kind of, as I said before, like one bad run doesn't make a bad block. But in saying that, how do people kind of tell the difference between a bad run and then what's becoming a bad block? And when you need to really step in as a coach and
Mm.
go, okay, maybe that we need to have a chat here about what's going on.
Yeah. So what I always do is I define what is going wrong. So is that you're struggling with the volume? Are you struggling with the intensity? And intensity could be split into the frequency that we are doing a pace or the
Yeah.
pace as a whole. So got to define what is the issue. From there, that's when you start playing. Like that's when you play around with what you've defined. So if it's volume, like cool, like let's remove one run and change it to like a cross training session,
Yeah.
and let's see if your quality on the other 3 runs improves. If it doesn't improve, it's like okay, like now we like probably need to reassess this from the ground up. If it's an intensity thing, all right, cool. Like let's strip out a VO2 session, a threshold session, whatever, and just focus on 2 really specific marathon sessions, 2 easy sessions, and let's see if you respond. More often than not, athletes are just overdoing it, and especially in the beginner and amateur, and they're not focused on quality; they're focused on quantity, um, or even they're not focused on specificity. So, and when we go back to our zones conversation, like making sure we're spending the right time in the right zones. So, guys, go back and listen to that episode if you want more context on that. Um, the other exception to it is there's 2 exceptions. One is athlete feedback. So I always encourage my athletes to leave comments after every single run. Session went good, session went bad, A, B, and C reason. If I am noticing a trend in feedback, like unmotivated, tired, sore in particular spots, off the pace, and it's not like a Wednesday and then 3 weeks later it's a Thursday. It's like actually every Wednesday when Georgia does her tempo session, like she's saying like the pace just feels too hard, like I'm not recovering. It's like, okay, like let's have a look at this. Um, the other part of it is for the athletes who don't, and this is a lot of our endurance athletes who are A-type personalities who don't necessarily want to admit that they need help, even though they've sought out a coach, or
Yeah.
maybe the athletes who haven't sought out a coach, is when you just start seeing them take things into their own hands. Like paces were too hard, so I just ran easy. And you're like, oh, that's a bit of a red flag. Um, or they're like, um, got halfway through a session, pulled the pin, like, I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And you're like, they're just like little red flags that on their own aren't anything. But when
Yeah.
you look at it over, again, we talk about historical data, you look over 2, 3, 4 weeks, starting to establish athlete trends, you're like, okay, this is something we need to address. So I'm always looking for trends in athletes, and then you can sort of define if they're positive or negative trends.
Yeah, and for you guys that like listening who don't have a coach, I recommend like if you want to keep a physical diary of your runs and kind of make notes on how you feel so that you can look back at your own comments.
Get a free Training Peaks account.
Thank you. That's what I was about to
Yeah.
get to. I was like, or you could just jump on and get a free Training Peaks account and you can leave comments and you can go back and look at them. I guess it depends on what kind of personality you are, if you like things handwritten and whatever way you do it, it doesn't matter. I think the idea is to, as Matt said, is you look at the data and so you can look at all of your comments and go, okay, like Matt said, is it a Wednesday that's really throwing me? Is it this, or like, is it around that time of the month for us, like ladies, like what is it that's causing this? And that is a good way to look at it if you don't have someone else to look at it for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I would encourage everyone, even if you're using Strava, don't just leave it as morning run, evening run, whatever the default Strava is. Like, actually fill out the description, and even if you want to set it to private, just so the only issue for like a handwritten, if you're like keeping a journal, like a training journal, is your memory is faulty. Everyone's memory is faulty. You will remember a run differently to what the data says. And when you are leaving those comments, you are leaving them in an emotional state. Doesn't matter how well the run went or how bad it went. It's almost impossible to be unbiased at that exact moment. And this is why I said, like, sometimes I wait 4 or 5 days to give Georgia feedback. Is if you went back and looked at sessions from 2 weeks ago and you looked at your comments, you're like, this was shit, this was fucked, this off the pace, my shoes were too tight, I should have worn my carbon shoes, I didn't wear my carbon shoes, I didn't have a gel, I should have had whatever excuse people come up with.
Yeah.
And you'll go back and look at it and be like, that's ridiculous. Like, I was a child.
Yeah.
And
I can see the run was fine, or
Yeah. And you'll look at the data and go, you know what? I was 3 seconds off per kilometer and my heart rate was 2 beats higher than what it normally is. Okay, it's not that bad. I was just like a little bit dramatic. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee that day. Okay, cool.
Me.
Yeah. So I would encourage people to leave it in a way that you can look at your comments, look at your feedback, and look at the data simultaneously. And I think most people would be shocked at how not bad sessions are. The other part of that is what people's standards are for what is a bad session. It's like, if I asked Georgia to run at her sub-4 marathon pace, so 5:40 per kilometer, and she's running 5:50s, Georgia would go, that's a bad session. And she's like, I can't run 5:40, it's too hard, I won't be able to go sub-4, and it starts to spiral. Me as a coach goes, Georgia's run 65 kilometers this week, and I've asked her to do a 20K tempo run at the end of the week. Like, yeah, okay, she's out by 10 seconds. That's fine. Like, I don't even blink. I don't even bat an eye at it because, again, I'm coming from a logical thing. I can look at historical training. I look at where her training load is. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder she's off the pace. I'm not surprised. If we freshened her up, she'd probably run 5:30s, 5:25s. Cool. Yeah. No worries. On to the next one, Georgia. Don't worry about it.
I know. And that's why, like, I always thrived with that. When you were just like, on to the next one, I'm like, okay, remove the emotion. So, yeah.
And like a lot of my athletes get the shits of me because I say to them, like, this is my standard response. Don't overthink it, on to the next session. And they'll be like, but what about this? I'll be like, don't worry about it. It's not important. Like, everything's where it needs to be. It's okay. Just keep
You
going.
only need to be concerned if I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes I think we put, as you said, like earlier on, we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves when there is, a goal or a PB or something in sight. And so that always can be a little bit tricky when you're doing these runs. Like, oh, but like you said, like, but I'm 10 seconds off my marathon pace and I'm not going to be able to do the marathon, and you like fully spiral if you're like me.
Like, I'm sure Ash won't mind me sharing this. Ash did the 36-kilometer run the other day, and she was, actually, it might have been Holly. Shit. Might have been Holly. Holly's running London Marathon. She's going to run sub-3. And she has just come off a T100, which is basically a half Ironman. And she has been training for a High Rocks as well. And she's going to go over, do London Marathon and the High Rocks World Championships in, like, I can't remember if there's a 1-week gap or a 2-week gap. So like a hectic schedule. And then she's coming back and she's going to do Cairns half Ironman with me. So wild. But she was like 15 to 20 seconds off per kilometer. And for an athlete of her level, and she's an ex-Commonwealth Games athlete as well, like that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at all of her training load and I look at what she's come through, I'm like, it's fine, like no issues. So what I do think athletes struggle with and maybe they don't spend enough time on is they focus so much on the upside, like I've got to hit 540s per kilometer, have to do that. But they don't set the bottom limit, like, okay, if I'm running slower than 6, that's an issue. That is like, if it's 540 or nothing. And
Yeah.
that's where problems arise because they haven't set the expectations on either side. They know what the pass mark is, they don't know what the fail mark is. So I do think
love
that's a valid point as well.
It's a very valid point. I love that. That's so handy to know. Like, yeah, I guess I don't know what the word is for it, but it's just so handy to know where the limit is that you actually need to start worrying. Well, even then, you don't need to start worrying, but yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, was there anything else you kind of wanted to add in this, like building a better mindset around your runs and how to not feel like you've failed your training?
Um, I think the biggest thing people can take away from it is context for where you are at the training block. And I thought you might do like, I have this really, maybe this is my coaching background, maybe it's just the way my brain works, but if a race is not going to plan for me, I have normally fully debriefed the race before I've finished it. So like, and that helps me get through the last 5, 7, 10 Ks, whatever it is, because I'm not really thinking about how much pain I'm in. I'm just sort of cruising through it. So the first thing I will look at is like, what was my goal for this race? What was the benchmark? So for my marathon on the weekend, it was 6 hours. I'm like, if I could be right on 6 hours, that'd be a fantastic run for me. And I was like, 6:30 was like if things went wrong. And I went 6:45 or 6:47, somewhere in the 6:40 something. So something went wrong. And then I was like, okay, what could I have done to change it? And I was like, did I taper for this event? No, I did not. Did I?
What couldn't you have done?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Loaded question. But for people, it's like, what could I have done to change the outcome? It's like, could I have tapered? Yes. Was it smart of me to run 6 days this week leading in? So I'd done 80 kilometers of running leading into the marathon. I'd lifted all the way up until Thursday. So I'd done strength training all the way through. So like all of those things, are they things I could have changed? Yes. Okay. Would I, and then I asked myself the question, would it have been worth changing it? And I'm like, no, like where I'm at in my training block, I needed to get that volume in. That stuff was a priority. This race was just for fun. Cool. So don't have to worry about that. Next, like, did I carb load? Kind of. I just ate a few more carbs on the Friday. Like, didn't do excessive carb loads. Like, could I have done that better? Yes. Okay. So heaps of things I could have done better. So should I be upset about the result? It's like, no, like I just listed probably 30 minutes to an hour worth of improvements just in 2 minutes of talking to myself. Like, okay, cool. Outside of that, was I prepared for the race? Did I do any research on it? Did I know the course? Did I know what I was getting myself into? Did I know the terrain? Did I know the weather? Like, I didn't even pack gloves and it was -6. Like, didn't do anything. Like, I couldn't have been more ill prepared for a race. And as a coach, it's highly embarrassing, but I do think it's like good context for people.
This is a lesson on what not to do heading into a race.
100% it is.
Literally a case study on if you did everything the complete opposite way you should be doing it, that is what happens.
And you know, I came like 10th in my age group, so I could have come like top 5 or something, maybe even podiumed if I like did things properly. Anyway,
we live and learn.
Live and learn. So yeah, so then I asked myself all of these questions, and then I just like give myself yes or no answers.
Yeah.
And it's like, number one, when you list it out like that without emotion and you just list the facts, you're like, no fucking wonder it went bad, dickhead. Like, right? And then you ask yourself the question, why am I upset it went bad? And it's like, part of me is because I know I can do better, but part of me is because I didn't tick all of those boxes that I normally would.
Yeah.
So I'm angry at myself. And then once you sort of start processing that information and you're looking at it again, just logically and just going through it, just step by step by step, you're like, okay, like it's all good. Like I did the wrong thing. No worries. Take full accountability for that. Next time I do that, this is what I will do to fix it. And you can apply that right down to, your park run on a Saturday. Be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have been out drinking piss all night with the boys and just got up and went for a run. And so like you can break that down to as easy day-to-day routine as you can. Did I go to bed on time? Did I eat properly? Did I hydrate? Was I off my phone 30 minutes before bed? Whatever your routine is, like going through your checklist and be like, okay, there's 7 things I didn't do. No wonder I didn't perform.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll fix 5 of those 7 things. So I'll be good as gold.
Yeah, and you could be like Matt and do it at the end of the race while you're still running. Or you could be like me and you need to
Running's
process
a loose
it.
term. Loose term.
Oh, you could be like me and do it like a week later. And that's, I've always done that when I've processed my runs. It takes me a few days,
For sure.
And I think, as Matt said, it's just make sure you're really looking at all the different things, remove the emotion, and then that way you can kind of give yourself a bit of slack too.
I want to correct you on slack. Accountability. I want runners to take accountability, and that doesn't mean you beat yourself down like I might do.
Yeah.
That just means like, okay, I did A, B, and C wrong. I acknowledge that. I will fix that. Like, it's not like I did A, B, and C wrong. I'll get them next time. It's like, no, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to fix that?
Yeah.
So this is like that easy and slow thing. I think it's like important to like define it. Be like, no, we don't give ourselves slack. We are accountable for our actions. We fix them. We improve. Like that's the whole point of being an athlete. So yeah, just want to nail down on that one.
See, guys, I am you guys, and then we've got Coach Matt, and this is why I am the representative of all of our listeners.
The common people.
we're the little peasants over here, and Matt's like, no. But I love that, and that's all really helpful advice for everyone listening, and hopefully, they can take away a few really good key points from this.
Yeah, and I will just add to the one other thing is the reason the elite athletes are good at what they do is because they have really, really fast feedback cycles. So if something is wrong, something doesn't go well, it's corrected immediately.
Okay.
The longer the gap from when something goes wrong to when you fix it, the slower your rate of learning, the slower your rate of improvement. So that doesn't mean this is right or wrong, but for someone like Georgia, who it might take 3 or 4 days for her to wrap her head around what went wrong, how to improve it, versus, say, me, who has solved the problem before I finished the race. I have a 4-day head start on Georgia. So if you imagine Georgia and I were identical twins, I finish the race, I have solved the problem. Georgia takes 4 days to solve the problem. I improve 4 days faster than Georgia. Like your rate, your ability to remove emotion and go through that feedback loop will increase your rate of improvement exponentially. So it's just it's a valuable tip.
Yeah, it's definitely something I always have to work on, is just like remove the emotion, move on quicker. Like there's no point dwelling on it. And so so true. It's so true. And you get a head start on everything because you're not worrying about the last couple of, 3 days prior. You're actually just worrying about being in the moment. So yeah, super cool. All right, we should jump into some listener questions. I have a couple here for you, Matt. We have a nice, juicy one from our listener, Jeff, who is very known to ask a great question. Jeff, I don't know if you know that reference. Please tell us if you do. He'll let me know.
Yeah.
All right. So Jeff has said, a question that's been on my mind for a while after listening to a couple of different elite marathoners talking on podcasts. Most of them tend to say that they run at a heart rate rather than pace, i.e. running at 168 BPM. And guys, this is a really great follow on from the last couple of episodes, and that's where it's come from. He said, is this a good way to run a marathon as an alternative to pace? If so, what heart rate do you use? Top of zone 3 or top of zone 4? Do you start the first kilometer getting to that heart rate, or would you build up to it? I feel like it's very similar to just going out too fast in a marathon when you're running at a pace. I've got 2 marathons later this year, and then I have 2 marathons this year after Hobart and in 2 weeks. And hopefully my Hobart time will allow me to have fun and try different things for the other 2 marathons, i.e. running at a heart rate instead of a pace.
Okay, there was like 17 questions inside of that one.
I'm so sorry. I was I don't know how to cut this down, but yeah, look, I didn't want to.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
You're
we'll go
good?
for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go for it. So the first one is, what heart rate should you do for a marathon? Is I start at sort of mid to high zone 2. And then as you progress through and fatigue begins to develop, you'll get cardiac drift, which you should finish somewhere around mid zone 4. So that's sort of thing. So I wouldn't spend any time like trying to get up to heart rate. It's not like a car where you got to get up to speed. Your heart rate will just, as you go through the run, it will just increase. The heart rate versus pace conversation. When we talk about the elites, their zones are so dialed that if they shut their eyes and are just running on a treadmill, they'd be able to tell you I'm at 165, 147, whatever. Like they know it. Like us amateur runners can't do that. Like we're not that dialed. I think most athletes would struggle to get within 10 or 15 beats. So there's that. I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of stuff, Georgia, and you tell me what I didn't answer.
No, you're good.
The next part of it is heart rate versus pace. What should you follow? This comes down to your experience during training and how much attention to detail. And this is one of the things that I think is invaluable in terms of coaching. Is I give my athletes contingency plans. So I know that, let's take Ash for example. Her heart rate to run, I think she'll run 252 at Boston. So lightning quick. I think her average heart rate will be about low 160s. I will tell Ash that if your heart rate starts to get above I have to do the math, but somewhere probably above 152 and your pace is not X, I need you to slow down just a fraction. And we need to sacrifice pace because something is not right with your heart rate. We need to stabilize your heart rate. When your heart rate stabilizes, then we can increase pace. So it is not an either or, it is a working together. It is your heart rate and pace. Your heart rate is telling your body, or is the data metric that is telling you how hard you are working. So if your goal is to run a 540 per kilometer marathon and run sub 4, and your goal heart rate is 155, and you are in kilometer 1 and your heart rate is 170 and you're running 540, something is seriously wrong. And you just need to slow down and get your heart rate under control and then reestablish it. So I am always telling my athletes to use heart rate as your guide. Sometimes the two just don't marry up. Sometimes on race day, things don't go to plan. And that's just part of endurance sports. But the majority of the time, if you have trained well, you can get pretty friggin' accurate in terms of, I know Georgia will run 155 BPM and she will sit at 535 to 532 per kilometer for probably 27 kilometers. After that, she would go into low 160s, mid 160s, and her threshold at the time was like 172. So when she came down, what's that? When you come up from
Macquarie?
Mr. Macquarie's chair, I knew she'd probably be at just crossing over threshold, but it would be all downhill, so she could just roll with that and it'd be good as gold. So it is not one or the other, it is either or. It's not one or the other, it is them working together.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's so true. Like, you knew all of my paces, my heart rate for that entire run, and I was pretty spot on. So I agree. I think, working on them together. And that's where those last couple of episodes, and I spoke to Jeff about this, and I said, I really recommend, if you haven't gotten up to the last couple of episodes, and he had listened, but he just had a follow-up question. And I just said, there's some really great info in there. So if you guys want to hear more about that, again, last 2 episodes, super helpful.
Was there anything that I didn't answer?
No, you got it all. He was basically just saying he has a marathon in 2 weeks, and then after that he wants to try a couple of different methods in how he tackles those marathons. Jeff is our listener who has done 50-something marathons. He's one of our first listeners who gave us proper context, and Matt was like, yes. So, very experienced, Jeff. But I love that he's asking questions, which is super cool. We have lots of questions from the guys this week. Next one is from Mark. Hey, Matt and Georgia, random one. I'm a sweaty runner, and no matter what I do, I get salt all over my face and clothes on long runs. Does that mean I should be taking electrolytes, or is it just normal and I'm overthinking it?
As a fellow, I'm in like the top whatever percentile of salt and sweat. I think I lose 1.8 liters per hour, and I'm like 1,400 milligrams of sodium. So I'm like nearly triple what the average person is,
Yeah.
which is hectic for Iron Man. But um, so I came like my stuff after the weekend was just caked in salt. So should you be taking in electrolytes? Almost definitely. Something to keep into consideration is the sodium content. So is this Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, Mark. You cannot use the stock standard off the shelf, even something like a Hyro that's a specialty product. Like it's just not doesn't have enough sodium for you. You need to be looking at something that's got around 1,000 milligrams per serve.
Precision, I think. Is it Precision that do the
Precision
1,000
to
milligram tabs? Yeah.
Yep. I'm using the bulk nutrients ones at the moment. They're a carb-free one. I think it's really, really good, really cheap as well. The Precision one is expensive, great for races, day-to-day use. It adds up. The bulk nutrients one, no affiliation. I just think it's a great product. Is cheap
Yep.
and 1,000 milligrams per serve.
Yep.
I would really encourage you to do that. What was the second part of his question?
He just wants to know if he should be having electrolytes because he's super sweaty. I know you've spoken about in the past, Matt, about doing a sweat test.
Mhm.
You can just Google that, can't you, to work out exactly how much you
Yeah,
should be having?
super easy way to do a sweat test is really easy on a bike if you have a trainer or a stationary bike. For a run, a little bit different. If you have a bike, wake up in the morning, weigh yourself, jump on the bike, spin for an hour at just like a zone 2 aerobic weight. If you drink any water, track how much water it is, jump back on the scale, subtract the water that you drank. The end number will be like your sweat rate per hour. So if you're a kilo lighter, you lose a liter per hour. For a run, you can pretty much do the same thing. I would just encourage you to wear maybe like a hoodie or something, just or maybe even like a long sleeve. That's just enough to get the sweat rate going. The reason we do it in like a garage or at the gym is because like there's no airflow, so you don't get that cooling thing. So when you're running, obviously cold air, you get that sort of naturally cools you down. Your sweat rate will be lower. So just maybe a light hoodie or a long sleeve, maybe even like some like sports trackies or something like that. And then just weigh yourself at the end, and that's sweat rate per hour.
How do you know how much sodium you should be having, though? If
Sodium's
obviously you're sweating a lot and you can see the salt, you know you've lost a lot of sodium, but is there a way you can track that?
Sodium is like you probably need to go get a proper sweat
Okay.
test. But sodium is one of those things that also is like you can just trial it out. So if let's just say you run for an hour and you get a cramp because you've had no sodium, like cool, I'm gonna have 250 milligrams, which is normally like one electrolyte tablet. It's like run for an hour. Did I get a cramp? No. Okay, maybe that's enough. Then you run for 2 hours and it's like, oh, I cramped again. It's cool. So if I have 250 milligram tablets, is that enough? I didn't cramp. And then like it's process of elimination.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah. I also just want to mention, like, there's a lot of stuff online about having electrolytes, and there's a lot of things like everyone's dehydrated, and I know Hyro speak about that a little bit. You don't necessarily have to be having electrolytes, but if you're someone like Mark who is showing the salt, that is a telltale sign that you need
For sure.
electrolytes. But don't feel like you need to like have it every day. Like it's not a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my Hyros when I know that I'm dehydrated or I've been on a run. So yeah, next question is from Sam. Says, hey guys, love the pod. I've started doing early morning runs before work, and I swear my body takes 3Ks to wake up. The first 10K feel absolutely horrific, and then suddenly I feel really good. Is there a way to warm up properly without wasting half the run feeling like a dead fish?
Yeah, I am a big warm-up guy. It's pretty normal, like most athletes don't, especially the rec runners who they got to get their run done before work. They might not have 20 minutes to warm up. Like they've just got to get in, get it done. Like that, sometimes that just sucks, right? And it's tough if you do not have the time available. But I always just am doing leg swings, hamstring swings, anything to warm up my adductors or glutes, 2 to 3 minutes. And then I will really just try and do some shuttle runs. So 10 to 15 meters, and I'll just do like a 1 out of 10, a 2 out of 10, a 3 out of 10. I might do a couple at 3, a couple at 4, a couple at 5, a 7, an 8. And then I probably would never get into a sprint, but like an 8. So like maybe a 10K sort of pace. And then you're normally pretty warmed up by that. If you give yourself 10 minutes of that sort of warm up, and you might need 5 or 6 at each pace to sort of get it going, but it's only 10 or 15 meters, you're going to be fine. It's really, there are a whole bunch of like different metrics you could use to do like a scientific warm up, but if we're just talking like you got 15 minutes, an extra 15 minutes before you got to go to work, like that's the easiest way. Just some shuttle runs back and forth, 10, 15 meters, increasing pace up until about 10K pace, then you should be good to go.
Yeah, and definitely do those dynamic warm-ups. They're my favorite. So do you find that if you don't warm up that you get that 10, 15 minutes of just like absolute shit? Or yeah, I'm the same. I always just go, because I never have the time. I do dynamic stretches and stuff, like your lunges, your leg swings, all that. But I generally, all of my runs, I'm like, just 10 minutes in the bin.
Yeah. And this is actually funny, going back to the start of the episode. So many of my athletes will message me and be like, heart rate was all over the place, couldn't get anything in order. And it's like, I look at the first 10 minutes and the heart rate's all over the shop, and then it stabilized. I'm like, you only looked at the first 10 minutes and then you got the shits and didn't look at your watch again. So it's like, you just didn't warm up. It's like, yeah. So yeah.
It's funny, like, Ash put up a thing of her, she was looking at her watch and it was beeping and she was like, shut up. And I was like, I've been there so many times where your watch is going crazy in the first 10 minutes and you don't want to look at it. But yeah, definitely those shuttles would definitely help with that.
Yeah. So sorry, just I'll quickly touch on it. I wasn't going to, but the idea of a warm up is to get your heart rate up to like above your working heart rate. So if you're going to do a zone 2 run, and let's say your zone 2 is 140 to 150, get your heart rate up to 150, 155 during your warm up, and then 140, 150 feels really, really easy.
Cool. Perfect. Well, that's all of our listener questions for today. I have a few banked up, but I like to keep some up my sleeve.
Well, I think next week's like we do a whole listener question episode, isn't it?
Yeah, next week we're due for one. So guys, jump in our DMs and let us know what you'd like to hear on our listener question episode, and I will make sure I add them to the list. Our list is always quite long, so get in, and I'll pop a little box up on our stories as well to accompany this episode for next week. But thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 61 of Beyond the Finish Line. Make sure you head over to Instagram and follow us at Beyond the Finish Line _pod. Head over to wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, download, share it with a mate and let them know how much you love us. And as always, if you'd like to be trained by the best, Coach Matt, or even Coach Anthony, our other amazing coach, make sure you jump over to performanceproject.com.au or hit us up on socials and let us know that you would like to book in a session and have a chat. We are here for you, and we can't wait to bring you episode 62 next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Hey, Root.
Bye.